You eat what? Let me see that pear. Damn, you demolished that bit. Ooh. All right, it's loaded. It's loading.
Ready.
Is you ready?
No, get mad.
You ready?
It's hard.
It's not hard.
It's very hard.
It is not hard.
Come on.
Open for it. There you go. Ready? Are you ready? You ready? Can't stop. Won't stop. Can't stop. Won't stop. Oh. My head hurt. Shit. Oh. Got to start. Got to start. Is it loud? Is it loud? Can you turn it down a little bit? Come on, you right beside me. We got it, you got it, we got it. Ah! No, it's just people. There are people in the way. Go for it. Ah! You got it. You got it. Out, man. Oh, my sister, stay there. Jump. Jump. No! Pick him. Oh. No! You need a controller. Oh my god. Do this. Do the Hollywood stitch stuff back. jumping. How hard can it be? No, they don't. What? Huh? Okay. Let me try to play with my keyboard and mouse. See how hard it is. It can't be that hard. Can't. We'll see. See how hard it is. Can't be that hard. It can't be that hard. It can't be. That was one finger, one hand. Oh no. It died. Cause you went up there with me when I went. You gotta be fast. You gotta be fast. Oh shit. Where D? No. I'm out here playing with one hand. Can't be that hard. It's W A D then space bar. And double tap space bar. Huh? No, you gotta leave. It can't be that hard. You double jump with the space bar. W, you move front. S, you move back. A, side, left. D, right side. Space, jump. Double tap space to jump and dive. It can't be that hard. It's simple. Come on, hit Ricky. You got this. Look at you. You shaking your head. No. You doubting yourself. Bad. I jumped. I went off the mount. Niggas crazy. They see the drip. They see the drip. I'm like, play again. Damn, my hands hurt. Hell yeah. Oh, I'm just. Oh shit. Stay still, man. There you go. What food y'all got in there? They got Hot Pockets in there? You eat Hot Pockets? Game about to start. I should have took that with me too. Put it in my dresser. Put it on my dresser. Huh? It's a spray. What the face? Third place, baby. Fourth place. No, you going the wrong way. Stinker, but you jump on the. Go, 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 go. Let's go. Go, 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 go. Jump on the ball. Jump on the little ball. No, it ain't. No, not. No, 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 no. You didn't see that ball right beside in the middle? Okay. Jump on that ball. It's too low now. No. Who quit? Can't quit. This game's easy.
I can run.
Then they got Fortnite. Should let your Fortnite download while you at work. Should let your Fortnite download while you at work. But you need a controller on Fortnite. Keyboard and mouse. They try real hard on Fortnite. But I get us that dub. There you go. There you go. You trying to quit. You trying to quit on me. We made it. We made it. We ain't done. We still got more. You got 7 people left. Okay, this one. Be ready. Yeah, be ready. Somebody coming in? Hey, bitch, quit pulling me. Shit. Let's go. Oh, 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 go, yeah! I'm right there! I'm right there! Yeah! Hello. Hello. Okay. Got past this still. What happened? I think we failed. Dude, there. Jump up there. No. No. Really stink, but we did play. I feel like we're gonna get better. Get to shoot, kill people. Let me see if mine. We leaving this? Let me see what my Fortnite. Excuse me. Epic Games. Go to the library. I'm on Fortnite at 6. It's at 59.
Hello. Clicking in? Oh, okay. So did you need... So our single kings are 125 plus tax, and then our double queens are 135. Okay. Can I see ID and info? For how many nights? Just one. Okay. Do you have any checks? Second floor? And we do serve breakfast from 6 a.m. till 9 a.m. in the morning.
I gotta download that.
What's your phone number?
Switch to TurboTax. File.
What is going on today, everybody? It's Buddy, and in this video I'm going to show you guys how I took this old, rusted, and neglected Toyota Corolla and turned it into thousands of dollars of profit. And if you're new to the channel, my name is Buddy, and I buy and sell cars for a living full-time and make videos doing it. So right now I'm going to take you guys over the entire process I use on this Toyota Corolla, from how much I knew I should buy it for, how much I knew I could sell it for, how much money I had to put into it, and ultimately how much profit I made. So without further ado, let's jump right into the video. So it was the day after Thanksgiving. I was on my phone when I got a notification from the Swoop app about a new listing in my area. It was a 2013 Toyota Corolla with 120,000 miles for only $5,000. Now, I know from experience this car should be at least $7,000 minimum, even with the higher mileage. So let's take a look at the pics and see what's up with this car. So from the first picture,
Okay. Mine don't say how long it's gonna take. Oh, mine's at 67 now. They jumped from 57 to 67.
He said, LOL, I forgot for me to
No.
send crying.
No food. No.
sure you can see why this car was priced as is. The hood seemed to have some paint delamination. Now also, if you zoom in on the roof of the car, you can see some serious rust forming. Now the next pic on the listing really showcases the severity of this roof rust. It was some pretty deep rust. You can see this car has been sitting for a while now. There was even just like a branch sitting on top of it, and there's a bunch of leaves on top of it, so it's definitely been sitting. So this thing has definitely seen better days. Now there was one picture of the interior. It looked to be pretty dirty, but it didn't look like there was any rips or tears in the interior, no broken panels or anything like that. Couldn't really see the whole interior, but it didn't look too beat up. So with a little bit of elbow grease, I'm sure I can get this interior looking good again. So now it's time to take a look at the description and see if we can find any more information about this car. The description states, the car runs great, needs some TLC, but runs good otherwise. OBO. So, according to the seller, the car runs good, but that does not mean it doesn't have any mechanical issues. I really can't tell you guys how many times I've been told the car runs great, and then it has multiple mechanical issues when I go to see it. But at least I know it at least runs and drives, right? So now OBO is the great thing to see here in the description. Now, for those who do not know what OBO means, it means or best offer. Pretty much it means they're subject to a hard lowball for me when I get there to see the car. But no, seriously, it means they're open to offers, so they are negotiable. Now it's time to see exactly what this car is worth. So with a quick search, it shows this car is going to run about $8,000 in very good condition according to the book value. Now I did a cross-reference search with other Corollas this year around the same mileage in good shape, and it looks like it is about $8,000 is what we're looking at. So with a $5,000 price tag and let's say a quick sale of $7,500, we're looking at a $2,500 profit margin. But that's obviously if the car is in very good shape, which this car is clearly not. So I'm definitely interested in this car, and the next step is to message the seller and schedule to see a time to see the car in person. Now they put or best offer in the description of the listing, so there's no point in even negotiating over messages. I already know they're going to be negotiable. So let's wait there to get in person before we even start talking any numbers. I'm not going to waste time in the inbox. The very next morning, we both were free, so I set out to see this car in person. Now, when we're on the way to see the car, there's some things that you always need to bring with you, and one of those things is an OBD reader. I'll have a link to 3 OBD readers in the description at 3 different price points that you guys can go ahead and check out. Now, I've been
I said, did you tell her to bring you some food? Since she or stop by.
No, I think she's gone.
Uh,
So I just put like a crying kid and she just put laughing.
damn. No.
I don't want anything here.
Been buying and selling cars for years, and I think probably the most important thing for getting profitable flips is to get to the ads first. It's guaranteed that any car on Marketplace underpriced by a few $1,000s will be pending in literally minutes. So a tool I personally use for car dealers and pro flippers is an app called Swoopa. It also shows you the estimated value of the car in the feed, so you can see at a glance if the price is a good deal, a bad deal, or even a steal. So they now have new AI filters that let you set your bot to only show underpriced cars and block obvious bad deals to save you a ton of time. You can use their AI evaluation tool to quickly check if a deal is worth it. It breaks down any issues and shows a potential profit margin. It even gives you strategy tips too. Now once you've set up your bot, Swoopa does the rest for you, searching Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp, Craigslist, and you can filter results by mileage, year, make, model, or just use the AI price filter and only see underpriced cars with a healthy profit margin. Swoopa will continuously search Marketplace every minute and ping you with an alert when a deal is underpriced, and then you can message the seller first before the other 50 flippers in your areas hit them up. So you can either scroll on Marketplace all day or get notified instantly with the Swoopa app. It costs money to use, but it's easily worth it, and you'll make that investment back tenfold. This app's not just for cars, it works for iPhones, couches, camera gear, pretty much anything you can flip and make a side hustle or a business out of. This is hands down the best company I've ever promoted. It's built by flippers for flippers. There's a link in the description, so go get the free trial and check it out. So after about a 20-minute drive, we finally arrived here at the seller's house. So obviously the first thing here that sticks out like a sore thumb is this rusted out roof, but the main concern is to see how deep this rust really is. So upon a closer look at the roof, I gave it some taps and I realized it's really just surface rust. There's no holes or really thin spots that need to be patched or anything. It just needs a heck of a lot of sanding and get this thing ready for paint. So if we go down to the hood, we can also see a few big spots of paint delamination. I've seen this time and time again, and it's crazy how these cheaper Toyota models like the Corollas and the Camrys, this level of delamination is completely unacceptable. There's no rust forming yet, so it should be easy to correct, but the paint that they're putting on these cars is super cheap. Now if we pan the camera a little bit here, we can see that the headlights are super foggy and yellowish looking. They're definitely aging the car, and that's something minor that I can address that will make this thing look so much better when I'm done with it. So going around the car to the gas cap, you can see there's a dry rotted sticker that looked to be a peace sign or something. Also here on the rear of the car, there was also another super old sticker that was dry rotted on there. It wouldn't come off with my fingernails, so that needed to be removed as well. Now right here on the back of the car, I noticed something that I did not notice from the pictures alone. One of the taillights was completely busted. When I checked the bulbs were still working, but this taillight definitely needed to be swapped out. Now if we go down here and we look at the front bumper, you can see straight through it and you can see the ground. Now that's definitely not supposed to be like that. There's some plastic trim that's supposed to be there, so that must have fallen off in a minor fender bender or something. So the last thing here on the exterior that I needed to be addressed was all these little paint chips. You can see the hood had a bunch, and there was a few here on the rear bumper, a little bit on the side mirror, and just small random paint chips all throughout the car. So now that we're done taking a look at the exterior, it's time to take a look at the interior. The first thing that I noticed is that this thing was super dirty. There were stains all over the seats. It kind of stunk in here too. The floorboards were black, so that definitely helps cover up a lot of the stains that I knew were already in there. All in all, it wasn't terrible, and there was nothing a little elbow grease and some good cleaner couldn't fix. So now the next thing I noticed about the interior is that the rear view mirror was completely busted. This was definitely not something I could leave, and 100% had to replace this thing. But that was really the only thing in the interior that was broken. Other than that, everything seemed to be in good working condition. So now it's time for the most important part, and that was to start this thing up and see how she rides. So the first thing I see when I started up was the traction control light was stuck on, as well as the check engine light. Now I completely forgot my scan tool at home. I had no idea what the code was. I know I said earlier always bring a scan tool with you, but I don't know how, but I completely forgot my scan tool. So I took it around the neighborhood and it drove absolutely perfect. It accelerated perfectly, it braked perfectly, it drove smooth, there was no engine noise, everything sounded awesome and felt solid. So it really kills me that I forgot my OBD reader because I really want to know what this code is, but what can you do? It is what it is. So even though I didn't know what the engine code is, I definitely wanted the car. I know the listing and the price is $5,000, and I know I can safely get $7,500 out of this thing once it's fixed up, but obviously it's going to take a good bit of work to get it up to the point where it's actually worth that $7,500. So once I was done with the test drive, I put it to the seller like this: I know you want $5,000, but we both know this thing needs a lot of work. I would be much more comfortable paying $3,000 for this thing. Now, the reason I lowballed him this hard is because I'm going to assume the absolute worst and just entertain the fact that this check engine light is a serious issue. Now, I don't know what it is. It could be something really easy to fix, but I'm not going to take the gamble. Since I don't have my OBD reader on me, it would be silly to not assume the worst. So the seller shot down my $3,000 offer. He went right back up to $4,400, only $600 off what his asking price is. We went back and forth until we finally settled at a total sale price of $4,100. Now, it's not the biggest deal for a rusty old Corolla with a check engine light, but there's still some meat on the bones to make some money, so I am now the official owner of this car. It's time to get it back to my place and start fixing this thing up. So now we're on the way home. I want to mention the topic of negotiation. I don't talk much about negotiation in this video, but I have 18 other car flipping videos and all of them touch a little bit on different negotiation points. I try to teach a different lesson in negotiation about all of them. So after the 20-minute drive, we finally got the car back to my house, and now it's time to get it ready for its new home. And as you guys know how I like to do it, I have a full checklist on everything we need to do to this car to get it sale ready. And first things first, we're going to see what's up with that check engine light. So it's time to plug in the OBD reader and see what we got going on. And you have absolutely no idea how happy I was when the check engine light came back as an evap leak. This has zero effect on the drivability or the integrity of the engine. Now usually you get these codes when you forget to tighten up the gas cap all the way and then it just stores into the computer, or there's a small leak in your purge valve. Now, but here in Florida, we don't have any emissions testing in our DMVs. We can honestly just delete this code and the new buyer will have zero issues getting this thing registered, zero issues reliability. I love living in Florida for this very reason. I do not need to fix this at all. It will not affect the drivability of this car. I got super lucky here. We can go ahead and cross off the check engine light and just delete it off the computer and move on to getting that bumper fixed.
Community is the way we find our strength and share our hope. It's the way dinner on the table brings a family closer together. It's the way we make sure his first chapter book is the first step on his path to greatness. It's the way we rally in hard times and rise back up stronger than ever. United is the way we come together.
So like I said, you're not supposed to be able to see the ground by looking at this bumper. There's a big trim piece here that's missing. So I took a drive over to my local junkyard to see if I can pull one off of a wrecked Corolla. Now they only charged me $20 here for this trim piece, which is still kind of crazy considering it's just like a 1-pound piece of plastic, but hey, I'm not complaining, it's only 20 bucks. So back at the house, installing it was not hard at all. I had to feed it from under the car to get it in place. Now once it's in place, you can see all these little white tabs. These all lock this trim piece in place. They were all still intact, so it was no problem getting this installed. They all needed to be lined up perfectly though. You can see it took me a few minutes just to make sure everything was all lined up. Now once it was all lined up, I had just squeezed the bumper and the little plastic trim piece together, and you could hear a snap every time one of those little tabs snapped in. And after a few minutes of finagling with it, it was officially locked in, not going anywhere, so we can go ahead and we can cross off the bumper trim piece off the list and we can move on to the next step. But before we move on, we're going to go ahead and start a money invested chart to track how much money we'll have invested in this thing. So we got $4,100 for the price of the car and another $20 for the price of the bumper trim piece. So let's go ahead and move on to the next thing to do, and that was to get rid of those dry rotted stickers. So usually stickers are pretty easy to remove. You can just pick them off with your fingernails, but adhesive that has been baking in the sun for months or even years, it almost gets binded to the clear coat of the car. And since it won't come up with my fingernail, the best thing to do here is use a rubber adhesive removal tool. So what this does is attached to a drill. It only costs like 10 bucks. They grip onto the adhesive and they pull it off without damaging the clear coat. You can see here there was more dry rotted adhesive on the trunk lid, and there was more here on the rear windshield. All these removed, it only took a few minutes, so we can go ahead and we can cross off removing the adhesive off the list and move on to fixing that busted taillight. Now in order to remove this old broken taillight, I needed to unbolt it from inside of the trunk. So there was 2 retaining clips that was holding in the lining of the trunk here. I was able to pop those out with a screwdriver, and then I was able to pull this lining off to the side to get access to the taillight bolts. Now the first thing to undo was unplug the wiring harness to the taillight and the blinker light, and then there was only 3 10mm nuts that held the taillight housing in place. Once I got those removed, I was able to pull out the taillight, and I was able to find a new one here on Amazon for only 35 bucks after tax, super cheap. And with the new one in hand, I slipped it in place and I secured it down with the 3 bolts I removed from the original one. I plugged in the wiring harness back in, I reclipped the trunk lining, and everything worked perfectly. Super easy job. So we can go ahead and we can cross off replacing the taillight off the list and move on to the next thing, and that was to finally get this nasty rusted roof of an eyesore taken care of. So the first thing we got to do here, we got to start by
No. There was a guest too. You lied to me. It wasn't. I knew King. Said you lied.
sanding this thing down. Now I started sanding by hand with some pretty aggressive grit sandpaper, but I definitely underestimated how deep this rust really was. Sanding by hand was going to take forever. It was not going to cut it. So I pulled my car into my workshop and I started really getting after it with my air powered sander with some 120 grit sandpaper. 120 grit is very coarse sandpaper for a car, and even with the air powered sander and this aggressive grit sandpaper, it took me almost 2 hours of just straight sanding to get all this rust off. Now after we were done sanding with the 120 grit, I had to go back back over it with 400 grit sandpaper. That's a smoother sandpaper to get all those deeper scratches out that the 120 grit caused. Now, once the surface was sanded, I took my little air hose, I sprayed out all the dust from inside the cracks and everything out of the shop, and then I took a few microfiber cloths and some rubbing alcohol. At this point, I needed to clean the entire roof really thorough. I had to make sure all little specks of dust were completely up from this roof. I did not want anything to mess up this paint job. Now, after it was cleaned up, it was time to mask everything off besides the roof, so I didn't get paint on the rest of the car. Just want to get paint on the roof, of course. I laid some tape down with half of it sticking up so I could come around and stick my plastic right to the tape. Now, with the car fully prepped, it was time to prime the surface. Now, I like to use this specific primer because it's a quick drying scratch fill primer. In short, what that means, it fills in any tiny little imperfections that I might have missed with the sandpaper, so I can sand everything down and make sure it is super smooth. And I went back over the primer after it dried for a few hours with some 400 grit sandpaper and smoothed it down so it was a super nice finish ready for paint. So I cleaned up the surface again with alcohol, and now it's time to use our Doopy Color spray paint. This is the exact paint code of this car. You can find this stuff at most part stores, honestly. You can see the paint code here on the cap. It says 040. You can find the paint code on any common car like this by looking at the sticker on the driver's side door jamb. You can see here it also says 040, so that's how I found the matching paint can, in case you guys are wondering. So I'm going to start here by unloading an entire can for the first coat. Now, painting white over this dark primer calls for a pretty decent amount of paint. Now, I used a total of 3 cans of this Doopy colored paint to get complete coverage on this roof. That was an entire can for every coat, 3 coats, and 3 paint cans. It was way faster and easier than setting up my paint gun, and pretty much the same price since paint is really expensive. Now that the paint had about 30 minutes to dry, it was time to lay down some clear coat. And I like using this can because it has different nozzles you can toggle. You can create a vertical fan or even a horizontal fan pattern. So after 2 nice coats of clear coat, you can see this roof after we're done, it looks so much better. It's time to rip off the masking, and now that I got this thing in the sun the next day, you can really see the huge before and after difference it's made. It took a lot of work, but boy, this thing looks really good. We can go ahead and we can cross off painting the roof off the list, and we can move on to getting that hood painted. So now with the hood, you can see it had 2 major spots of paint delamination. So the first thing I did is I started by hand sanding these spots with 400 grit sandpaper. Now my goal here is not to only rough up the spot before I lay paint, but I have to feather out these hard edges. So after I'm done sanding, the goal is my fingernail will not catch the little edge of paint. It'll just be super smooth and feathered out. So once I was done sanding, I wiped it down just like I did on the roof with some alcohol, and at this point the surface was all prepped for primer. I sprayed it down with the scratch filler primer, just the same stuff I used on the roof, and once it was dry, I sanded it down with 400 grit sandpaper, and it was a really nice prep surface. Of course, we had to wipe it down with alcohol again, and then I laid 4 thin layers down of the white paint so I got complete coverage over that dark primer. And then it was time to get some clear coat on it, just like we did on the roof, the exact same steps, and you can see this hood came out beautiful. You would never even know this thing had these huge missing paint spots just like I showed you before, but you can still see all these little paint chips as you can see here on the hood. So let's attack those next. But first, let's jump back to our money invested chart and add a few things. So we have $35 for the price of the new taillight, and then the 4 cans of white paint with the primer and the clear coat came out to $110 of rattle cans. That was a good bit of money in paint, but it made life so much easier than setting up the paint gun. So let's go ahead and cross off painting the hood off the list and move on to the touch-up paint. So I took a trip to my local auto body supply store and got a small bottle of touch-up paint. And of course, I used that same paint code 040 to get the right color, and it only costs $20 to get one of these little bottles of touch-up paint. So they come with a little nail polish brush looking thing inside, but personally, I like using these small little touch-up brushes better. They're super cheap. I think you can get them for like $10 on Amazon, and they're way more easy to use, and you can get a really small dab of paint on even the smallest little paint chip. So when you're putting down any touch-up paint, the main thing is you just want to get a nice even layer. You also want to do this on a clean surface. A small wipe down with alcohol and a little rubbing pad is good enough, just like we did here on the roof and the hood. So after 30 minutes of walk around the hood, touching everything up, this thing looks so much better. There's no more little paint chips everywhere, so we can go ahead and we can cross off touching the paint up off the list, and we're going to move on to the last thing on the exterior, and that was to restore these headlights. Now you can see these things definitely needed a nice refresh. So now what you see me doing here is the last step to restoring your headlights. And lucky for you guys, I have an entire video on the whole process that I personally use to restore your headlights and get a professional looking result when you're done. You can see I did one light here, the difference between the before and after, it's completely night and day. And after hitting the second one, you can see the front end of this car is looking so much better. Restoring your headlights is a complete game changer to make the car look so much newer and so much nicer. So the final step on the exterior before we're completely done with the exterior is to give this thing a wash. I have this little electrical powered pressure washer that also does that little foam bath thing. It's pretty fun to use, and it's really satisfying. Now, I sprayed foam all over this thing. I let the foam sit on there for a second, and you guys remember how dirty this car was. This thing was super nasty. The exterior had caked on gunk from sitting for probably months without being driven. So we got this thing finally all sprayed down. The exterior is looking beautiful. Now you can see this crazy before and after. Before, it was all rusted up. It looked like a beater, but now this thing looks amazing, and it's ready for another 100,000 miles. I'm super stoked with how the exterior of this car came out. So we can go ahead and we can cross off the headlights in the final wash off the list. And now what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to go to the interior, because we're gonna have to get that interior looking as good as this exterior. So the first thing we had to address was that broken rear view mirror. It's pretty straightforward on base model cars like this. There's one screw that holds on the rear view mirror in place, and all you need to do is remove that little screw in the mirror and it will come right up. Now that we got the new mirror, it was only $18 on Amazon. This one actually didn't even have a screw. So what I did is I just slid it on there, and it was a really tight fit. This thing was not going anywhere. It was a super easy fix, and it looks so much better than I busted up cracked one. So let's cross off replacing the mirror off the list, and let's move on. But first, let's jump back to the money invested chart and add a few things. So we have $20 here for the little bottle of touch-up paint, and then we got $18 here for the new rear view mirror. So let's do the final thing here on that to-do list, and let's make this Corolla sale ready, and that was to give this thing a full interior detail. So anytime I detail any of my cars, I like to remove all the seats to make sure I get a nice thorough detail and get the carpet nice and clean. And it's really easy. It's the same on pretty much every make and model car. There's 4 bolts that hold in a car seat, and this high-powered impact gun that I have makes things really easy, because most of the time a seat has never been removed on a car, and these bolts can be really seized up. And now you can see that I got the seats removed. You can see how much easier it is to get in there and deep clean all these carpets with nothing in our way. But first off, we got to vacuum up all these carpets. So we're going to start here with just a little shop vac, and we're going to thoroughly get all this dirt and random stuff up that's deeply embedded into this carpet. I take about 15 minutes alone just to vacuum, just to make sure I don't get stuff all clogged up in my carpet cleaner. And after we're all vacuumed up, I take some cleaner here with my little handheld pump sprayer. I soak the entire carpet here with a generous amount of cleaner, and once we're done spraying, I let it soak for about 5 minutes to make sure everything is nice and saturated. And once the 5 minutes up, I use a drill brush attachment to really work in the cleaner deep into the fabric of this carpet. Now you can do this by hand with a regular brush, but the drill brush attachment really speeds up the process, and it works in all those stains really well and gets everything super clean. So once it's all worked in, I finish the job here with my carpet cleaner. This thing sprays clean water in, and it sucks out all the dirty and nasty stuff. Now you can see here on this carpet, there's some pretty nasty stuff coming up. These black carpets really hide all that gross stuff, but you can see this thing was absolutely filthy. So this was definitely a necessary step. And once it was done and all clean, it was left with a nice new car fresh smell. So now it's time to work on these seats. And being out of the car, it makes it so much easier. So with cloth seats, it's the same process here I used on the floorboard. So we're going to start here by soaking the fabric with the little pump sprayer that I used before. And then after a bit of soaking, we're going to go back and hit it with our drill brush attachment. And once the cleaner was all worked in, it's time to suck out all that nasty stuff. You can see there was some really nasty stuff like dark brown water coming out. Really gross here. So once we were done here with the seats, they were almost completely stain free. There's a few marks that you can see here that won't come up, but those are just cigarette burns, not actual stains. But these seats were perfectly clean, and it looks so much better than before. So now it's time to do a quick wipe down of the cup holders, the dashboard, and all that stuff, and get the seats back in the car. And you can see once the seats were back in and everything was wiped down, this thing is as beautiful on the inside as it was on the exterior. All the stains were gone. It smelled great in here. It looks super sharp, almost like a brand new car again. So now with the interior looking brand new and the exterior all painted and pretty, this thing was finally sale ready. A complete transformation in this car. I'm super happy with how it came out. Now all we need to do is find it a new home. So first thing first, we need to take some really good pictures showcasing how great this car really looks. And you always want to take your photos vertically and not horizontally. They will look so much better when potential buyers are looking for a new car, since everybody uses their phone to shop for new cars these days. And since it was January, you guys know what time it is. It is tax season. It's going to be an easy sale. I'm definitely going to list this thing for the upper limit of the book value. I'm going to start here about $8,500. Now after a few days of being on Marketplace, I also posted it on my personal Facebook page to see if anybody I knew wanted it. It was a really solid car, and I really felt comfortable selling to anybody. The same day I posted it, my good friend's mom actually reached out to me on Messenger, and she really wanted to see it. She came by and loved it and wanted it right away. She knew that I would do a full inspection on it and make sure I wasn't selling her any junk, and I definitely wanted to hook her up on the price because I knew her very well, and she's a really good lady. So I decided to let it go for only $7,300. That's $500 under the medium listing price. I knew I could have gotten at least almost $8,000 for this thing because it's tax season, it's a Toyota, Toyota, but oh well, I still made a little bit of money on it, and she got a really good deal. So everybody wins in this situation. So now we officially got this thing sold. We made some cash. So let's go back to our money invested chart and let's add the last few things. So we're gonna add $80 since I paid my friend $80 to help me detail this thing, and let's add another $100 for miscellaneous things like gas, detailing products, and anything small that I might be forgetting. So if we add all these things up, it comes out to a grand total of $4,483 invested in this Corolla. So let's take the sale price of $7,300. We're gonna subtract the $4,483, and that brings up to a total profit margin of $2,817 made. That is not bad at all. So let's do a little bit more math together and let's figure out an hourly rate. So replacing the bumper plastic, that was mainly drive time, so about an hour for that. The tail light was super quick and easy, so I'd say just about 30 minutes for that. Now painting the roof was a pretty big mission between sanding and prepping and all that good stuff, so 5 hours of work at least to get that thing done. Touching up the hood only took about an hour since I didn't have to mask anything off, and it was minimal sanding. A good 30 minutes to go around and touch up all the paint chips off the body of the car. Another 30 minutes to restore the headlights. Between replacing the rear view mirror and removing the dried adhesive, we can add another 30 minutes. And we're going to say a good 4 hours to do a complete thorough detail of this thing between me and my friend. And let's go ahead and add another 4 hours of miscellaneous things like drive time, part shopping, and anything else that I might be getting. So that comes out to a total of 17 hours of labor invested. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide the total profit margin of $2,817 we made. We're going to divide that by 17 hours of labor, and that comes out to a whopping $165 an hour. That is not bad at all, and we definitely made a big home run here with this little Corolla. Now with YouTube pushing YouTube Shorts so hard, my videos do not get the same love and views they used to, so I'm going to need all the help I can get in order to continue making these car flip videos for you guys. I do all my own repairs, filming, editing, and everything in between, so make sure you guys press the like button on this video, leave a comment for the YouTube algorithm, and also a huge shout out to the Supa app for being the